I'm gonna try and make this quick just because I got dogs in my room and I gotta take care of them. But we had Trump speaking and Powell speaking. It was probably a riskier day, but there's a lot of volatility, and I just did not even care at all to end up losing a trade. Just I actually lost yesterday, and there's a lot of things that went wrong with my trading view, and it was my fault, but at the same time it wasn't. So maybe I'll go over that at the end of the video, but let's get to it. So we had this 4-hour high that was in line with a daily gap, and I've been back testing a ton recently, changing my draws and liquidity, and I actually really like targeting 4-hour and daily gaps. So there's that, and then I think that's it for that. So, bro, replay is so ass. So immediately we formed this opening gap, like a 5-minute opening gap, and we ended up coming into this 5-minute order block, which I could have taken, but since it was so early in the open, I didn't. We ended up getting a 1-minute breakage structure as well, and I was going to target this gap. I didn't like know what was going to happen, but it was pretty obvious when we're this close, and it's achievable for a market to hit. So there we go. There was 5-minute equilibriums. We had this slight reaction, and then I guess Powell hinted that we were going to cut rates, and we blew up to there. But I was going to take a trade off of this if we ended up inversing this gap. I actually have noticed I like inverses as well. I don't have to wait for a break and then a continuation because I end up losing the move. If I just wait for an inverse, bro, sorry, that's the dog chewing on the bone. If I just wait for an inverse, then it's a really strong sign that we're just going to go straight to my draw on liquidity. So didn't take that. This target also got hit, and there was this. This is all that was left, and I was pretty set on just not trading at all, especially after that. But even earlier would have been a fine trade. I would have taken that. But moving forward, okay, we had this gap, and then we also created that down candle, which means equilibrium could be hit. So here's where I was fine with going short or long. Oh yeah, by the way, this move was almost like 2%. Yeah. So I was pretty set on not trading, but I actually thought this was also a good setup. We had this bearish gap that didn't get tapped, but 1-minute equilibrium did. And I was gonna go short down to equilibrium, but since we had this bullish gap kind of protecting us from going short, I was waiting for that to get inversed. So here was a potential trade. If that got inversed, I would have just done this. Faye, stop it. And then if we went long, I waited for this gap to get inversed. But also, if we got a reaction off of that, I probably would have gone short. It would not have been my favorite trade. But if we inversed this, I would have went long up to this hourly gap. But I think here was my first mistake. It was a Friday. We already went up 2%, and I was still targeting a 1-hour high. I should have just targeted this recent buy side liquidity, but I ended up going break even right there. So I waited and waited. Depending on what reaction we got was the direction I was going to go. So we inversed that after a 5-minute gap, by the way. And whoops, I ended up going long right there. My stops was right at that candle closure. It could have been right here, but I felt like that was a little tight. 1.54 risk to reward, and another 0.38% is low key on a Friday is kind of crazy. Those were the only two things. Like, bro, Faye, stop. Holy crap. Dude, I have to watch this dog because it's my sister's and she's out of town right now. Anyways, yeah, another 0.38% low-key was crazy on a Friday, but this was honestly one of the craziest trades, like most stressful trades of my life. I ended up going break even right here. And then I kind of trailed my stop under this 1 minute low. Like right there. Hold up. Alright. Anyways. I ended up hitting break even. I was in this trade for like almost an hour and a half. Just going and going and going and going. And then at one point I was like just a few ticks from hitting take profit. And then at this point I trailed my stop again. Just below here. I'll just make that red just so we know. So it was a risk-free trade. If anything, I was gonna win some. It wasn't the coolest. A lot of these 1 minute order blocks ended up saving me, bro. I thought I was out of it so many times. Ended up going out for 126. Not too bad. I could have made like 300 if I ended up closing here. Could have made like 220 if I closed right here. Would have made me go out green on the week. I'm actually negative $4, which is kind of tragic. I'll go over yesterday's loss, but yeah, pretty much I could have taken a decent win if I didn't target so high. Plus, I feel like 1 hour gaps aren't the strongest draw. So let's go over yesterday in the morning. There's a gap, hourly draw. Okay. This was yesterday, right? Bro, what? Wait. Oh, yesterday was 21. Hang on. Wait. Wednesday? Can I, like... Hang on. Bruh. Let me do this really quick. Bro, I don't really use replay, so bear with me a little bit. Okay. So we had this high. We had that. Probably this low wasn't hit, but we'll see. And then that. Okay, so okay, we had PMI yesterday. Trying to remember. I ended up going short. I didn't realize how much volatility we had the past few days, so I didn't realize how big these moves were. And to target all the way down here with such a tight stop loss was low-key crazy. I ended up going for it right there, and it was pretty early in the market open. 9:44 just before PMI. Boom, there's my trade. Yeah, I was on the fairway mowers too, or else I just saw that reaction and kind of just went with it. 5-minute gap, 1-minute break, 1-minute fair value gap. Pretty standard, except the move was just so big. Plus the wrist. I didn't realize it was almost 1%, by the way. Or else I would have went for like a 15-minute draw. Literally like right here or something. Okay, but what happened was I entered and my data wasn't loading or something, and it didn't show that I was in. My stop loss and take profits weren't loading. My hourly, or actually everything on the candlesticks weren't even loading until market opened. So a whole lot of trash was going on, but I didn't know my orders weren't loading until I entered. And that's happened one other time, and I've lost $150 because of it. But I'm glad the loss wasn't any bigger, because I'm pretty sure I had to like do a manual stop loss, where it was like a buy stop or something, which I'm not familiar with. But I'm not even gonna go over that trade too much more. But I don't know. 2 wins and 2 losses, and I'm -4 on the week. So peace.